never underestimate, like ever, the human ability to be resilient.
Hello and welcome back to Change and the Market, your weekly look at the changing real estate market. I'm your host, Brian, joined as always by our resident real estate expert, Chris Masiello. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, Brian, good to be with you. Good to be with everybody in our community.
Fantastic. We'll get right into it. Like always, Chris, how have things changed over the past week in the real estate market?
Well, I have a whole page of notes, so let's get right. Yeah, let's get right into it. So
you came prepared. Well done.
Yeah, I came prepared. Yeah. Some repeats from, our previous time together, but, more updates. So, we'll start again with interest rates. So 5 and 7 year adjustable rate mortgages are, consistently now, below 6. So they're in that high 5 range, which seems to be more acceptable to people because we're seeing more activity in the market. We were touching upon this before that we were getting into the point where the spring market has activated. And I think at this point, it's in full swing. And it pretty much doesn't matter where you are across the country. Everybody says the same thing. So, the market really is in full swing. I think it's probably a little bit early for a spring market. But it's nevertheless, things have really activated. It's a kind of interesting statistics. I'm just going to quote some New Hampshire statistics, although I would say that typically New Hampshire, Vermont, Northern Massachusetts all tend to present the same as New Hampshire mostly. Average sales prices year over year are up 4%. So roughly $399 to $415 this year. $399 last year, $415 this year. Inventory, this is kind of interesting. So inventory is up 17%. Now, 17% sounds like a lot. Now, this is a year over year comparison, but it's only a couple hundred houses statewide. So it just tells you how tight inventory is. And we're still running about 1.1 months of inventory available. So, and how they calculate that is the number of homes for sale, based on the sales rate of what's closing or going under agreement. Will tell you what the inventory longevity is. Pending sales, though, are up 3% year over year. So I think, you take a look at all those are really pretty healthy factors. And so, we're really moving into the spring market, I think, pretty briskly. Cash transactions are up now because people are working around interest rates. And what's interesting is that I did a little bit of research back on the National Association of Realtors website, and the percent of cash sales keeps going up every year, or the inverse of that is the number of sales that are mortgaged or financed keeps going down. So, what you see there is cash continues to be a real factor, in the housing market.
So coming off of that now, let's shift over to how people in the industry can use this information to kind of capitalize right now, because we were talking before we started that you have some good advice for people in the industry. Yeah.
So what we're finding, where if you take a look at the hard statistics, that there are more cash transactions, in the real estate environment now than there ever have been. And that's predominantly because of the wealth factor. So this is the wealthiest generationally the country's ever been, with the different gradations of baby boomers, and the way estate and tax laws and estate planning works is that it makes more sense to pass things down to people while you're still here, and so there's a lot more generational wealth that's being waterfalled, okay, from grandparents to their kids, or to their different generations, and parents to kids. And you're seeing a lot of that with gifting, larger deposits, down payments. That's another factor, actually. And a lot of that is, there's certainly an estate plan to it, estate planning aspect, but it's also that real estate is a good investment. Almost always. Now, if you buy something and you want to flip it in a week, maybe not so much, right? But long term, the average person's staying in their house somewhere between 7 and 10 years. And it's a very good investment. So we're seeing a lot of the nation's wealth parked in real estate. And so, you think about You think about an investment, a lot of times people think about, stocks and bonds and things like that, which of course are good vehicles, but real estate ranks right up there, if not better, okay, than any of those other vehicles for investment. And I think that's what you're seeing reflected in the fact that there's so much generational wealth being invested in real estate.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, as always, Chris, what is your general advice for our audience this week?
Wait, I'll say resiliency, because I was kind of going through my notes and I was looking how the market is kind of weaving, right? So things like, more cash sales, interest rates go up. So, people are putting more larger down payments, or they're putting, full cash transactions. You take a look at how things like 5-year and 7-year adjustable rate mortgages have, woven their way back into the mortgage products offerings. And one of the things that got me, was never underestimate, ever, the human ability to be resilient and to find workarounds. And so you watch, we still have a shortage of housing, so people have to figure it out, and they're figuring out in ways like leveraging generational wealth or different mortgage products. And markets doesn't matter what market. This one just happens to be housing, but markets in of themselves are resilient and they're creative, and that's what we're witnessing right now. So always do not underestimate your ability or the ability of any other circumstance for there to be creative solutions.
Great stuff as always, Chris. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Change and the Market. As always, if you're enjoying our show, make sure you like, subscribe, follow on whatever platform you're watching or listening to us on, and join us back next week for another brand new episode of Change and the Market.
Thanks, Ryan. Good to see everybody. Take care.